welcome to the Superior Mind Body Health Podcast. I am your host, Monika Banach. My special guest today is actually one of my clients. This is actually a first client of mine that I have interviewed. Her name is Lidia Petrone. And she's got a very unique story that I wanted to share with everyone, and she wanted to share with others. She was diagnosed with lipedema, and it was a big diagnosis for her. When she first came to me this year, this was one of the biggest things she struggled with. And we want to share with the listeners like what it is and how she has overcome a lot of those, I would say, maybe mental struggles that
Yes.
she was dealing with in this particular condition. And then we'll share a little bit about our coaching and how it has helped her
Mhm.
as well with the whole mental process of processing
Mhm.
this particular condition and lots more. So welcome, Lydia.
Thank you so much, Monica. I really, really want to thank you for having me here and interviewing me about this very, very important topic because not many women know that they may have it. 1 in 9 women actually have it. And I just recently found out that I have it. My entire life I lived it, didn't understand what was going on. And I really want to talk to the listeners about how they can handle or understand if they do have this, what they can do, because there's so much that can be done.
For those who are watching on YouTube, we do have a little bit of a PowerPoint slide that Lydia's kind of gonna go over just the gist of what is lipidemia and what it looks like. If you're listening to it on the podcast, we'll do our best, of course, to explain what it looks like. But if you're able to go on YouTube and watch it, just even for this PowerPoint slide, that might be really helpful. Once we get through the PowerPoint slide, we're going to go through a little bit more about how we've managed and what we did to help Lydia with this particular condition. Of course, everything that we discuss here is just personal experience. This is not a medical advice. Of course, if you think you have lipedema or you're not sure if you do, of course, talk to your doctor, your PCP, before you proceed with any of our advice. All right, Lydia, go ahead.
So again, Monica, I just want to thank you because you've been so instrumental in helping me deal with my lipedema in the last 3 months through your program. I cannot tell you how much you've helped me. And I really want the listeners to understand that too, because it is really a mental process. Because living with lipedema, there's so many issues with it, but there are helpful protocols that you actually helped me with. Because sometimes we're so much in our minds that we can't really sort out all that's going on in there. That's what you helped me with.
Well,
So, this.
actually, before we proceed, I do remember, I wish I had the recording because I usually record my clients when I interview them. I interview every single client. And the difference from then to now in your voice and just the whole transformation, it's amazing. So we'll discuss a little bit more about that. Sorry to interrupt.
Okay. No worries. So, lipedema, not many people have heard about it. Not many doctors have heard about it, but it is so very common. And as this quote says, it is often under and misdiagnosed as obesity by the medical community. And so when they tell women who have been dieting and have been working out, eat less, exercise more, but that's what they've been doing for so long and they don't see results and they get their blood work done and their hormones tested, but their hormones are fine and they still can't understand what's going on. This may be something that they may want to look into, because those that are living with lipedema, they have the physical, mental, but also emotional challenges that they need to deal with on a daily basis. But there are so many ways that we can manage this, and that's what's so beautiful about this. So here is an image of what lipedema is in the early stage, interim, and then the advanced stage, right? So it really is a medical condition that is characterized by asymmetric buildup of adipose tissue or fat in the legs and the arms. It is very common, under recognized. It can cause pain, swelling, and easy bruising, and those are the telltale signs of this.
Mm.
It's also accompanied by an unusual texture within the fat that can feel like rice, peas, or walnuts beneath the surface of the skin. And so, for example, you have a cat, Monica, but so many women with lipedema who have cats may walk on their legs and they feel pain. So that is a real great way
Interesting.
to know. Or if someone just, touches your leg gently, but there's pain,
Mm.
again, now you know that that may be the case. And some of the common symptoms include fatigue, muscle pain, and again, the easy bruising. So is it lymphedema? And so many people get the two uh, confused at times. So it's not lymphedema because the swelling in lymphedema is often and only affects one side of the body, which includes the hands and the feet. Lymphedema can be diagnosed with imaging or genetic tests, but lipedema cannot be diagnosed with a particular test. And so who gets lipedema? And this is really, really important information because it does occur almost exclusively with women. 1 in 9 women have it. And this is when it begins, or it worsens during puberty and other periods of hormonal changes, such as pregnancy and menopause. And this is when women start noticing it. So when you're a teenager and your legs just don't look quite right, they don't look like your friends' thin legs, and you've done everything to try and lose that weight, but your legs just don't change. That's a telltale sign. And
Mm.
that's when I started noticing that my legs just weren't like everyone else's. And no matter what I did, my legs were just always larger than my upper body. So it is based on genetics. And my mom and my aunt had it, and definitely inflammation will contribute to it. Remember that this is for so many women who have it very uncertain because, as I said, when doctors don't know, you have no idea what to do. And because it's so challenging, you're always reading as much as you can, but sometimes there's so much information that you don't even know what to do. So this is really easy. This is how we can really work with lipedema, which is something that you focus on in your program, that if you're fasting, your refeed is going to be avoiding inflammatory foods.
Mm.
There's a
But
reason for that.
going back to your story with this, like when did you get diagnosed with lipidemia? Did it take a
Officially,
while? Yeah, officially.
yes,
Mm.
officially it was this past December. Officially by a doctor, he finally did tell me that I have lipedema. It's not lymphedema. And my husband said to him, my wife does everything. She eats really well. She exercises, but she just can't get her legs to slim down. And the doctor said, well, it all depends on what she's eating. And my husband said, trust me, it's chicken. She eats chicken. She eats veggies. And that's when the doctor said, well, maybe it's fried chicken. So even the doctor could not grasp that no matter how hard I was trying to eat really well, I couldn't lose the shape of my legs. And my husband, who watches me eat, he knows what I eat. He sees me. He is
Mhm.
amazed. For years, we have been with him for 14 years, amazed at how I eat. How I
Yeah,
Okay.
so you were saying your husband has been amazed, like for the last 14 years, seeing you eat so clean and not being able to get rid of the appearance on your legs. And for those who didn't see the pictures that you posted, that you showed on the slide, when it begins, when you start to see it, it's a little bit, almost kind of looks like a little bit like a cellulite, like little fatty deposits in the areas of thighs and your butt area. And I actually, like, I have seen this in so many people that have no idea that they have it. And of course, those are those like chronic, cardio bunnies, like always doing cardio to lose that fat, where there's really, that's not gonna really make it or break it. There's a lot more that goes into it.
Yes,
Going
there's
back
so
to
much more.
diagnosis of lipedema, not lymphedema, lipedema, how do you diagnose it? Is it through like history, family history? Like, how did your doctor finally said, okay, you have it?
So I had to go get my veins checked out, and he then ruled out lymphedema. but
Okay.
because of the texture of my legs and the genetics, because both my mom and aunt had the same scenario, on my knees, I have the fat pads right on the side or uh, um, within my inner thighs, right by my knees. I have these fat pads. And that was one thing that my cousin couldn't understand that I had when I was a teenager. No
Mm.
matter how hard I worked out, she said, "You will always have these. What are these?" And I could never figure out what they were. And then I learned through the internet, women posting images, and then I got to see that my legs looked like these ladies' legs. And now I realized I had this lipedemia. But even when I went to go see this doctor, all he said is, yes, you have lipedemia, and there's really nothing you can do about it. And this is a doctor. This is just
Mm.
this past December, not that long ago. If it
That's
wasn't, sorry, if it wasn't for the women on the internet posting what lipedemia is and how to deal with it, what it looks like, how to eat, how to work out, I would never have known.
yeah.
And so, I went into fasting and I followed you. So about 5 years ago, when
Wow.
you had done this, the snake diet, I started following you because you were posting, um, quick, 3-day fast, 5-day fast. And I started doing that with you and I started noticing a difference. So I really tried the fasting protocol because it was the refeed that was so important, avoiding the inflammatory foods. And this is something that doctors, well, at least my doctor, wasn't able to tell me.
Mm.
I'm not going to blame him. There's just not much information yet about this, right? Because like you said, it really does look like cellulite.
Yeah.
And it's not. Like that's the one thing, that it's not cellulite, even though it looks like it.
So, if you had known this, back in your 20s
Mhm.
and was like, okay, this is what I have, would this had made your like life, growing up easier, not blaming yourself like, oh my gosh, it's just something wrong with me. And perhaps even preventing it getting worse, right? If you knew
Yes.
that this is what you had and the doctor was like, okay, one of the biggest things is to keep your inflammation low, to eat foods that are anti-inflammatory. We'll talk a little bit about the diet and what to
Mhm.
avoid and how to manage this condition in order to keep it from progressing to the like the pictures that you showed. I mean, it can be really detrimental. Like, I mean, some of these pictures are just crazy. You can Google lipedemia and like the stages of it and how bad it can get if you don't prevent it. So yeah, go ahead and talk about the diet and like the things that you have done or what helps to reduce the inflammation in your body.
Well, what you just mentioned was how would I have changed my life, or how my life could have changed had I known that I had lipedemia when I was in my 20s. Because actually, when I was about 14 or 15, I remember my brothers mocking my weight, and I wasn't eating any more than anybody else, but my weight just gained, like my legs just were bigger than most young girls. Even when I was in my 20s, I had so many young men that I was dating, and I cannot tell you how many of them, or just men that I met, saying, you're really beautiful, but if you lost 20 pounds, you'd be
Mm,
gorgeous. And it's not like I wasn't trying, because I was, but
mm,
I'm Italian. So you can imagine I was eating bread and pasta, a lot of potatoes, rice, all the inflammatory foods.
yeah.
And my mom was really thin all her life until she hit perimenopause. As soon as she hit perimenopause, her body changed so much. And I watched how my mother ate. She didn't eat a lot, but she did eat a lot of the inflammatory foods. She walked a lot. My aunt as well, not eating more than anybody else, walking, but her legs were also very, very different from every other woman's legs. And I couldn't understand why that was. And so now looking back, I wish I had known to avoid the inflammatory foods. It wasn't until I hit my late 30s, early 40s that I realized that I needed to cut back on the pasta and the bread. Breaded chicken, all these sorts of foods that are so staple in the Italian diet, because when we remove these inflammatory foods, the inflammation
Mhm.
calms down in the body. And so we now feel that pain is gone. Eating fried foods or baked goods, sugary foods, sweets, desserts, they're the biggest culprit because carbs are so processed, especially now, that they wreck this havoc within our bodies, within our systems, right? And so that's something that we're always doing constantly when with the refeeds, when we're fasting, or just even just regularly eating. We're always told to avoid these inflammatory foods, but more so with anyone with lipidemia. So one thing that you've talked to me about is how carbs do fuel the inflammation. With your background in medicine, you understand how foods impact the body. And when eating, and these are the comfort foods, right? When we're stressed out, I
Yeah.
mean, I've talked to you about this so many
Yeah.
times through our program that while I was stressed and I had my refeed, for some reason, I jumped into anything that was salty, like potato chips or ice cream one night. I talked to you about that. I knew that it was going to inflame my body, and I knew that, it was going to cause this sugar to spike, worsen my inflammation. But that's something that you helped me deal with, which was the mental aspect. And if it wasn't for you helping me with that mental aspect, none of this really made any sense to me. I fasted. I've always known how to fast really well, but it was the refeeding.
Mm.
Right? And that's something that you really focus on so much in your program, talking about eating the anti-inflammatory diet, right? Really good proteins and really good fats and low glycemic carbohydrates, making sure that the body gets what it needs. You always spoke to me about taking care of my body, nurturing my body, and that if that moment I want to give into something that is sweet or breads or cakes or anything like that, go for a walk. Just go, just step away from the situation, calm the mind, get rid of the stress. I cannot tell you how important that is, not only for me, but for anyone living with lipidemia, to understand that we have control over what we put in the body so we can take care of our bodies. It is hard. I'm not saying that it is easy, but nothing worthwhile in life is ever easy. We always have to work for what it is that we want.
Absolutely. And with you also, not to interrupt, I'm sorry, but with you, I think the biggest thing too was, you were it's like you were blaming yourself for this condition, this lipidemia. Like when we spoke the first time, you were just like, oh, like you just gave up. You felt so
I did.
guilty, like this was your identity. And I think once we kind of work through like the mental aspect of it and know and understanding that you didn't do this to yourself, like you have no control over this. And you know just because you have this condition doesn't change the person that you are. And you're not punishing yourself by not having those foods, those like sweets and donuts. You're actually nourishing your body because you're preventing this condition from getting worse or getting to stages where it is just you become unrecognizable, because it can get really bad. So sometimes I think people do the opposite. They're like, F it, I have this condition. I'm just gonna, whatever, do whatever, eat whatever I want. That is not the time to make yourself guilty for having this. This is
Mhm.
not your fault. But what you can do is prevent it from getting worse by doing the things that Lydia has done. Not only your diet, but the mental,
Mhm.
decreasing the stress and
Mhm.
your whole psyche, understanding that you're not at fault. This is not your fault.
I think that was the greatest piece that I learned from being with you in the program. When, after one of our weekly check-ins, you wrote, and you also sent me a recording saying, this is not who you are. Don't let it define you. You have it, but it's not you. And you gave me permission to forgive myself. And that's one thing that I really, really needed, was that permission to forgive myself from having this condition.
Yeah.
And if it wasn't for that during our session, Monika, I don't know how, I cannot tell you how important that was for my psyche, because you allowed my stress to come down so much when you explained to me. And even though I know this, but knowing it means nothing. I had to understand it. And by you telling me that it's not my fault, I gave myself permission to calm down. And I've been beating myself up since I was 14 when I started noticing the change and having so many young men saying to me, you need to lose 10, 20 pounds, 30 pounds constantly all throughout my 20s and even into my 30s until finally I had to say to myself, I need to find a man that's going to accept me for who I am, and I did. I found this most amazing man, and I've told you about him, how he would always say to me at the end of the day, I love you for who you are. I love the way you look. I love your legs. I love everything about your body. I will be there to support you with whatever you do. And that is so important to have that support group around you.
Yeah,
Not,
that is a good man. You do have a good man there for sure.
and
But
even just
even
recent, sorry,
yeah,
sorry, go
I'm
ahead.
sorry. No, I'm just saying, like, even, despite him telling you all those things, you're good enough. I love you the way you are. You're still beating yourself up. And
Mhm.
you had to believe in yourself and realize that no, this is not my fault. I did not do this to myself, and just forgive yourself for beating yourself up, and for telling yourself this, or maybe even the old stories about the guy saying, you gotta, if you could only lose 10, 20 pounds, is like that echoes in your mind. And it's sometimes we don't realize how subconsciously that can continue carry with
Yes.
us sometimes.
For decades, like decades of constantly hearing those voices, and I gave those voices power. I let those voices dictate how I lived my life instead of loving what I saw in the mirror. And
Yeah.
it wasn't until, having my husband obviously tell me how amazing I look no matter what I'm wearing, but also giving myself that permission to accept my body for what it is, that these legs are carrying me around everywhere. I get to go places because of my legs. I should be grateful for what I have. That change really helped, and you really helped me understand that concept, because for the longest time I never gave myself that permission. I was always so hard on myself, and I think women are just naturally really, really hard on themselves. And so when we have this additional condition to deal with and trying to explain to people, it's not me. I mean, I was telling you when our last check-in that I was at an amusement park and I saw this teenage girl,
Mhm.
really pretty girl, and I saw her body type and I already saw the lipedema in the back of her thighs. To most people, it looks like cellulite, but then I saw her ankles, which again,
Mm.
you can see that is lipedema. It's not, just her overeating. She's not overeating. And I so wanted to go to her and tell her, please look into lipedema, look into it,
Mhm.
because you're probably blaming yourself for what you have. You want to look like all your skinny friends around you.
Mm.
Because as teenagers, that is so important. I wish but I didn't know how she would have reacted to it. So I didn't, but I see it everywhere I go. I can pinpoint who has it. And again, 1 in 9 women have it, but do they know? Do they know that they have this? Or are they dieting constantly, exercising so much, and nothing's changing? And what it does to the psyche is incredible. And
Yeah.
until you really sat me down and had me listen, like really listen to how you could walk me through the mental process of decreasing the stress and forgiving myself and accepting a new journey, then finally I was able to let go of all that baggage. And that was a lot of baggage to carry
Yeah.
for
Yeah.
many, many years.
We made a lot of changes in your life because there was a composition of all of them. We'll talk about those a little bit more here in a minute, because I want to talk about the triad, the emotional triad, and the exercises, the easy exercises that you can
Mhm.
do to live your life in a different kind of triad. Like a triad is basically a triangle where you
Yes.
live, it's your emotional state that you live on a daily basis. And sometimes we don't realize what emotional triad we live in. Tony Robbins talks in more details about this, and we did like a thing with my coach discussing this in more details. But yeah, go ahead and finish your the PowerPoint slides, and we'll talk a lot bit more about the triad here in a minute.
The one thing that your program really focuses on is the mind-body connection, because it is an incredible and a very powerful connection. Because stress is lowers the white
I'm
blood
not
cells.
paying for her for this. I didn't pay her to say those things. She's so sweet and kind. I appreciate you. Thank
But
you.
it's so true. And then you've taught me about the importance of relaxation. Find ways to relax, because that increases the immunity and it really helps the body overall. You've really focused on finding ways to find peace in my life. Laughter, as we know, is so important, right? And rebounding. So this is one thing that you would always ask me every check-in. What things have you done all week? And this is one thing that I would do, rebounding, because this is really good for the lymph circulation. It aids in the digestion and elimination. It really relaxes the body, and there's no trauma to the body. So people think, well, let me skip rope, or let me just jump up and down, like do jumping jacks, which is fine, but rebounding is really great for improving the lymph circulation or the whole body vibration. So I recently got this, and it does increase the blood and the lymph. It reduces pain and inflammation. So it's fantastic. Really, really a great investment. Dry brushing, I would tell you every week that I would dry brush, because it does eliminate the toxins, and it gets the lymph and the blood circulating, which is so important with lipedema. But dry brushing is excellent for anyone, like not just for anyone with lipedema, but for
Absolutely.
anyone.
Yeah, even just for like lymphatic drainage, or like appearance of cellulite, or just impurities on your legs or skin. Excellent. I actually do utilize it pretty much every morning. Yeah.
And then other things that, we really talked about was the meditation, the journaling, deep breathing. That's something that you talked to me about really in the beginning, which really helped, especially when I went through a lot of stressful moments. I remembered how to focus on my breathing, visualizing a new world, a new journey, a new life that was ahead of me. Walking, something that, I would always mention that I try to get in my 10,000 steps a day, weight training, the gua sha, this right here, which is so important to use on the body to get, again, the lymph moving, and compression garments. So this is really important if you have lipedema, because it really takes away a lot of the pain. So you need to find someone who can help you give you the correct sizing for it, because you don't want to just go and buy something and hope that it works. You actually have to get, and you can go to different places where they actually do the measurements, and they know what to do. And then the last and the final protocol is surgery. There are many women that have done it and they've loved it. It can be very expensive, so it just depends on the person, but that is also another option, right? And so if you do have lipedema, it's so important to look at all the different elements. It's not just about eating right and exercising. There's so much more
Yeah.
that needs to get done on a daily basis that can really handle it. So Rubenesque paintings always illustrated women who were, a little different than what they look like now. And really, when you think about lipedema, we are breaking the mold. Women don't have to have or have to look a certain way. And that's something that society really wants us to, they want us to fit in this mold, but it would be so boring if we all looked the same. And
Yeah.
so we have to embrace in our curves, really embrace them. So when we live with lipedema, read as much as you can about it, learn from the experiences of others for your own body, because everyone is different, but learn about it, about others, and take it in as to how it can apply to you. Actively learn and problem solve to know what works for you, and then know how to handle the various emotional fluctuations. And that's what I really came to you about, was dealing with the mental aspect. How can I focus on my mind so that these emotional fluctuations would end and I could move forward and tackle everything And the one thing you really helped me with, those weekly check-ins, what did you do all week? What consistent actions have you taken every single day that would eventually get you to your goal? And even though I never lost many pounds, the inches that I lost, and it was you would send me my before and after, and you would you would show me the changes, and you let me see that these daily actions, being
Mm.
consistent with them, made the difference, not only in the body, but also the mind.
Absolutely. And there was a big difference, absolutely, between your before and after, just the appearance of the lipidemia in your legs. And sometimes, when we're so hyper focused on that perfect image, like you were talking about, we don't realize, that we don't see what's in front of us. And so when I did point out those, like, look at the difference, you were like, oh, I didn't see it. I remember pictures like the side of your, like, even the curve
Yes.
in your waist, and you're like, I didn't see it. So sometimes those pictures, I don't make you take them every week or every other week for punishment, but it's so I can look at them and point out the differences in appearance. Sometimes it doesn't have to be a ton of weight loss, because sometimes what's appearing on the scale doesn't always show in the photos. Like, the scale number is just one number. A 10-pound difference or 5-pound difference is going to look different on the scale versus actual picture. So I almost always prefer to see inches and appearance than the
Mhm.
weight, because that can fluctuate with your hormones, with the water intake, sleep, cortisol, and all of that. Yeah. So thank you for sharing that. I really appreciate you willing to share your story, because when we kind of started talking about it, and when I met you, I'll be honest, I didn't know a ton about lipidemia. I actually researched it um and kind of looked into it more, and I was like, oh yeah, I've seen this everywhere, all around. Like, I had several friends at work that had it, and I just never put two and two together till we started talking. And so sharing this with others, I think it's so critical, because I do think the knowledge is power.
Absolutely, but it really was through your program, Monica. I cannot stress it enough. And when I joined with you, like I told you, I know really a lot about the fasting protocol, but I needed to know more about the mental aspect. I needed to understand how to overcome so many of the challenges, and I didn't understand how hard I was on myself. And
Yeah.
because I was so hard on myself, I wasn't very kind to myself. And you taught me to be kind. And that's one thing that I find with many women that have lipidemia, who have heard it from so many people for decades, how, we're supposed to work out harder, eat less, get a trainer, all these sorts of things, always putting us down. And finally, you said, stop that. You cannot be hard on yourself anymore, because you did not choose this. It's not who you are. And you showed me a different path. And so, like you said, you know how to fast, but let's look at other elements. Let's look at the mental and how it connects to the body. And so that mind body connection now will really allow you to change. And that's what made the biggest difference. So, coming back from an amusement park, I think it was last week, I did not crave the ice cream. I did not have any ice cream. And I've been able to overcome any of the cravings, learning how to increase the salt intake, for example. That's so important when you have lipidemia and lymphedema, to intake some salt, like literally put it on your tongue, let it sink in there, and then drink it down with some water, because it's so important for the body. Okay, yeah, sure. So like you really helped me understand the different elements of how I can take control of my life,
Yeah.
because lipidemia really takes a toll on the mind. We're a society that's all about appearances,
Yes.
especially now with social media. It's all about how you look. Even with filters, when you have lipedema, there's no real filter that will really help that. But maybe, if more women accepted that they have curves, and that they enjoy their curves, and that they find their curves to be beautiful, because a lot of men do love those curves.
Absolutely, absolutely. And then just accepting yourself. And, if there's something you can do about something, right? Of course, do it if you're not happy. But if you know that, this is part of your life, yes, you can do things to diminish the appearance of the way your skin looks. But sometimes, I mean, you can do everything perfect and you still can get rid of some of those impurities on your
Yes.
skin, or the cellulite appearance on your skin. And it's just, we are so hard on ourselves. You have to love what you have. If you can't love yourself right now, you're not going to when you change. So with you, I think what was beautiful for me personally to watch, because that is like the best part of doing what I do, is seeing that mental transformation. Yes, like obviously we wish we lost way more pounds, but that's not about really, like, you will lose the pounds because now your body is more in balance. And it's not just because of food, but the mental balance. We
Yes.
had a lot of stress going on as well. There was a lot of work stress. And when you have all those things kind of like coming at you at once, it's like you don't have much to fight with.
Yes.
So sometimes, like there was a community, I think in California, where the women they would drink green juices, do yoga every single day, but then they would go home and they had a really stressful relationships, and they just couldn't understand why they were not healthy, because they were eating juices, they were doing yoga, meditating. That doesn't, like, yes, that's great, but if you go to a toxic environment at home or a job, that's not going to change the entire thing, because it's all about balance. And that is the biggest thing that we focused on, that foundation, that mental foundation. Like we mentioned, like your triad. So triad is like basically a triangle, is the emotions that you experience every single day. So a lot of your triad was stress, right?
Yes.
Anxiety, stress, getting up, doing work every single day. How am I going to get through the day? How am I going to do all this? And so that was like the baseline for daily things. So you did the same things you do every single day to feel that triad. So then we flip that triad and we use more of like, I'm calm, I'm in control. And we use more of those, we included more of those emotions on a daily basis in order to live more in this calm triad than this negative or the stressful triad. And even just little simple stuff like that, it makes such a big difference. That's why when people just focus like, oh, I just want to lose weight, that's it, just see the pounds. And I know you've done that before. You lost a
Yes.
lot of weight, and then program was over, and then what do I do now? You go back to the old habits, the old thinking, because that mind, it becomes that foundation of your house, which is your total body and how you deal with things. I can't stress that enough. I think sometimes, like, I even had a client recently that wanted to jump on board, and she just wanted a fasting program. And I'm like, I don't do that. Well, wait, I thought you were a fasting coach. I said, no, fasting is one of the tools that I use with my clients. Some of them are not the best candidates for fasting. Some of them are great, but fasting is not, I don't write you a fasting program, because
Yes.
you can get that for free. I can just tell you, okay, do 48-72 rolling fast and you'll lose weight, but it's not about that. And I know you've been through that before. I've been through it before. And I lost a lot of weight during fasting, just fasting, and not changing everything else and balancing my body. And I ended up back where I started. I regained all the weight. And then that whole triad starts again, because then you beat yourself up and it's like this vicious cycle. And I just wish more people would understand that it's not just a program. You can lose weight with keto, you lose weight with carnivore, vegan, whatever diet you choose, even fasting, but it's not sustainable if you don't change what's going on inside, or your family life, your work life.
Well, you noticed that when I was doing the rolling 72s, my refeed would not always be spectacular. And so that's when you suggested that we go back to, maybe just intermittent fasting, like one meal a day, or, between have intermittent fasting instead, and then build up to longer fasts, because your focus was, let's look at how your body is dealing with this, but you wanted to always focus on my mind. How can you get my mind to calm down and deal with the daily stress? My daily stress was just with work. My home life is going really well, but when work stress,
Yeah.
and you know a lot about work stress, I mean, you would have 24-hour days, which just puts on so much stress, cortisol. I mean, I already have hypothyroidism. You were also focusing on my blood work. You really wanted to know all my numbers. You were so focused on how my body was doing from within, so that the protocol without would now mimic what's going on within, and you had to balance what was going on within first. And it's all that positive self-talk and positive self-love. One thing that women don't really do very much is compliment themselves, how wonderful and beautiful they are. And trust me, you can see all these different bodies walking around the streets,
Yeah.
and people will love them regardless of what they look like, because it really isn't about that image anymore. That fades. When you were in your 20s to now, your body's changed so much, but the people around you still love you for who you are. And we've heard this so many times, you have to love yourself, but truly, if you don't love yourself, you are not going to take care of yourself.
Mm.
And I often gave into refeeds that were not very kind to my body. Like you said, if you want, like you can put in those meals that are going to, a piece of cake here and there, but not doing it too often.
Yeah.
But most people that want to join with your program, they know how to fast. Now you provide them with a different element, which is the mind. And so their mind and the body now can connect, they're now aligned, and now the change can happen. And you have to become very vulnerable. And that's why those weekly check-ins were so important, because I would literally sit there while writing my weekly check-ins. What did I do this week? What did I learn this week?
Yeah.
How can I make more changes that will get me to my goal a little faster? But you always focused on being kind to myself. And that's what I appreciated so much from your program.
Oh, thank
So,
you. I'm so glad. I'm so proud of you. You've honestly, you've done the mental shifts and the changes have been absolutely outstanding, from seeing from you from the beginning to now. And that what makes me happy, because I know you will continue
mhm,
with your journey. This doesn't stop. This is not, okay, I lost weight, I lost inches, and now I'll just go and do whatever. This actually, it helps you in your daily life. It helps you with
yes,
your job, with your family, because you're able to deal more with things, because when you're calm here and you know how to manage your mental state,
mhm,
everything in life is easier. So it's not just about the weight. And again, when you accept yourself and you love yourself as is, we'll always have things that we need to change and work on. But you cannot wait till, oh, you get that new house or you lose 20 pounds to love yourself and accept yourself and truly be happy and grateful
mhm.
every single day. And those daily things matter. Those little things do add
You
up to
do.
those big things. And
Mhm.
so that process, like, it's like, I know sometimes people want to do shortcuts because they want to get to that weight so quickly, but it doesn't work. You might
Yes.
be happy for a minute, for like, a month, but then the emotions and the emotional eating, whatever else you were dealing with before,
Mhm.
are gonna still be there. Nothing's gonna change. So I I'm really grateful that you were willing to come on and talk about the lipidemia and really your experience, because I do think that it will help other people out there that are possibly maybe struggling with similar situations, even if you don't have lipidemia, but you do have certain things that you just don't like about yourself, same thing. And you come, or certain conditions, even like diabetes, like,
Mm.
like type 1 diabetes. You didn't give that
Yes.
to yourself. Sometimes
Mhm.
it happens, and
Yes.
you have to love yourself and accept yourself for what you are, who you are, because some things you can change, and if you can change those things, do it. But if you can't change something, just love yourself as is.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And in all honesty, your program really was different because you do it out of the kindness of your heart. Like you're really looking out for your clients. That I know, I can tell, I feel it. And that's why I felt so comfortable and was so willing to be vulnerable because I learned so much. I ate like, and all these programs, for breakfast, you have a fruit with oatmeal.
Yeah.
At lunch, you have rice and protein, and at dinner, you have sweet potato and another protein and some other veg. And I did that, and I kept on gaining weight. And the person that put this program together for me couldn't understand why I was gaining weight, even though I was working out. And I kept on saying, my body's different. I need to lower my carbs. But most people don't understand that concept. Oh, carbs are not the problem. They're not for the majority of the people. But for some people, carbs just are detrimental to the body. And once you accept that and you realize that not eating my breads and pastas and cakes and cookies is okay, once I just let that go, all of a sudden was a different, as you said, paradigm shift. Everything shifted because I had to kindly accept the change instead of force the change. And that is what you focus on in the program. You help people step by step get to where they need to go. And that's why your program is outstanding, truly. And I'm not just saying that because I want people to sign on, not at all. It really is who you are. And that's what makes you different from so many other people. So I just want to really thank you and let people know, like, Monica's the real deal. Like, she
Well,
really will
listen,
get you.
she only followed me for 5 years before she decided to work with me. So,
Yes.
I mean, it took 5 years to realize that that I'm worthy. No, I'm just kidding. No,
No,
I
but
love it.
reading all the posts constantly, all that information that you had was so, so important. So thank you so very
It
much.
makes me so happy to see that, because it makes what I do worth it. Not that I didn't think it was worth it before, but it makes it so much more worthy, because this is what I'm passionate about, because I struggle with so much. And we as women, we need that support. When you support other women, you only reflect who you already are on the inside. So I always want to acknowledge that, because I think that's so important. Sometimes it's just this competition with women, and we just need to support each
Mhm.
other more, because that's truly what we need. We need to support each other and just be kind and loving. Something that I want to go back to that you just mentioned was when you said, understanding that there are certain foods you just cannot eat, like the cakes and this and that. And, a lot of it is that balance between pain and pleasure, right?
Mhm.
So, like, initially, when you were like, oh, I can't have the cake, I cannot have the cookie because of this and that was painful. Like,
Yes.
I can't have this, but I want to have this.
Mhm.
So now you turned that pain around, and now having it is more painful, because it
Yes.
causes those symptoms on your legs. So
Mhm.
switching those in your mind
Yes.
and realizing, okay, what is actually pain and what is pleasure? Same thing, like, you don't smoke, right?
No.
Okay, so for you, if I told you, Lydia, go and have a cigarette, light up the cigarette, would that be pleasure or pain?
Pain, a lot of
Pain,
pain.
exactly, because that's not something that you associate as pleasure. So
Mhm.
how come someone that's a smoker, for
Mhm.
them it's pleasure because they associate it with
Yes,
pleasure
that's
instead of
right.
pain? So just like anything else in life, whether it's dating, whether it's certain foods, we can associate that pain and pleasure to what we want to associate with. Like a
That's
lot
right.
of single people, they hate dating. But if you associate dating with pleasure, like going to meet new people, making new acquaintances, that's not going to be as hard as like, oh, this sucks. That last date was horrible, or vice versa. So being really careful how we link the pain in our lives to pleasure. When you come home from a busy, stressful day, my back in the days, one of my pleasures was opening a bottle of wine and just sitting and watching TV. Now that's
Mhm.
actually like a pain. Like I don't drink anymore. And so for me, I started associating going for a walk, going outside and walking as a pleasure when I got home from work, because that was relaxing and that made me feel better instead of being, stressed and wanting to drink. So
Yeah, yes.
very, very important.
And that is a really good distinction to understand the difference between the pain and the pleasure, because in social situations, we're always told that it's okay to have the foods that are going to cause us pain. And we have to understand the difference and let people know that that's not our reality, and they have to accept it and allow us to be who we are in that environment. But once you understand what you have to do and you know who you are in that situation, your words hold weight and people will respect you for what it is that you're doing. Just like those women who have the lipidemia, like a stage 3 or a stage 4, and they walk around with confidence. That means so much because they're doing what they want to do. This is who they are. And whether you accept them or not is none of your business. Because in this world, I mean, being judged or judging is so harsh. And that's something that we have to stop doing. So many women with lipedema actually have a t-shirt that says, if you want to know why my legs are this big, you just ask me, so that they can inform others and explain what it is. But again, because it's 1 in 9 women, that illustrates just how many women do have it. And when you understand what it is, it just gives you such relief that you have been doing everything right. It's not your fault. And once you can accept that, Monica, the world opens up so beautifully because now you see everything differently. And that is what I want so many women to understand. Those that have lipidemia, I cannot tell you how many women who have it that helped me just by reading their posts or seeing their images, understanding that my body looks like theirs, and that's okay. It's actually beautiful. And that's what I want to give other women, to accept themselves for who they are, because sometimes self acceptance is so important when you're dealing with everything, with all the other stressors in this world. And there's so many stressful situations. Let's
Amen.
just focus on how we can, quiet all of that other stuff down so that we can enjoy life, like really enjoy life. Go out and wear a pair of shorts in the summertime, wear a bathing suit in the summertime, not hide the body all the time, because that is exhausting too, trying to find clothes that fit or make you look good. Just wear what you have and go out there and enjoy who you are. Having fun with my son, playing with him in the park. I don't care how, if people even look at me or wonder why, my thighs or my legs are that size, because I've had so many men tell me that they were so big.
I want to hunt all those men down and just punch them.
Oh, I'd love to. I'd love
It's
to
what
go.
what anyone else thinks of you is none of your business. And that's kind of how I take life and everything. Obviously, if it's like personal, like family stuff, obviously that matters to a point, but what strangers think of me, I don't care. Social media, same thing, because everybody's gonna have an opinion. Everybody has one,
True.
and they all stink. They say everybody's opinion is like a butthole, whatever. I don't want to say bad words. Everybody's got one, and they all stink, which
It's
is
so
kind of it's
true.
all right.
It's absolutely true. And so loving yourself is the most important thing. And that's what you helped me learn, just to accept myself, accept what I have, and then put all the different pieces together on a weekly basis so that over the 12 weeks there is a transformation without you even knowing that you're transforming. And that's the beauty of it. And having met your coach, like she, again, another powerful woman who really focused on the power of who you are, what it is that you're doing on a daily basis so that you get what you want. It's just like you said, that triad. How do you change it so that on a daily basis you
Yeah.
deal with everything that comes with at you. You're that rock with no matter what the storm is, you're not going to move. No
That's
matter what stressful situation comes to you, you can handle it. And we know that stress is going to happen on a daily basis. You put all the building blocks in place so that we can handle it no matter what it is. And as you said, even if you have a little ice cream, next day you move on. You don't beat yourself up. Take the guilt away, because that guilt can literally imprison you. And I've been in prison in my mind for a very long time. So your program is very, very powerful. And a lot of it is because you worked on yourself first. Like, you made sure that you understood the program really well to put it together for others so that they can enjoy it too, instead of talking the talk but not walking the walk. You've done it all.
Well, thank you. And I've made plenty of mistakes and continue to make them and learn on them. And yeah, in order for me to be the best that I can be for others, I get a coach myself, and I will always have one because I have to work on my mind, continue to work on that foundation because that work doesn't stop. It
No,
doesn't stop when you lose weight. It doesn't stop when you achieve a certain financial status. You continue to do that. You continue to growth and work on yourself because this is a journey. It's not a destination when you get to a certain point and then you stop. It's a continuous lifetime journey. And I have a lot of peace in my heart because I know that you will continue um, following your passion, whatever you're doing. And I cannot wait to see continued changes and positive things. And I do think that a lot of women hopefully will reach out to you. And speaking of, like, is there a place, like, how can people reach out to you if they want to ask you questions about
sure.
lipidemia, or what's the
Well,
best?
I'm on Instagram at Keto Lydia. So that's my Instagram name. So they can definitely, reach out there, and I'm more than willing to answer any questions that they have, because I've gone through all the different emotions. So any questions, and all the research I've done, I would be more than willing to help out. So Keto Lydia.
Before we go, there's three questions that I like to ask everyone that I interview. Um, that is, what are the three things that you wish you had known sooner? It doesn't have to be specific to lipidemia, but it could be just to anything, your life, anything that you want to share.
Number one, to accept who I am instead of trying to be what other people wanted me to be, and fit their mold instead of accept myself for who I am. Two, to really understand food. So when I was in my 20s, I wish that I had known the power of food a little bit more, so I would have made better choices. And so today I wouldn't be where I am. And then number three, definitely to have more people in my circle that were like-minded, instead of trying to follow what the trend was or be with others that really didn't accept my viewpoint. So that support system is really, really important.
Hmm.
And speaking my mind, like being able to just speak my mind instead of being more quiet. I think that's what I learned now that I wish I had back then.
Yeah, those are great. Thank you so much, Lydia. I'm so
Oh,
grateful
thank
for you,
you,
and
Monica.
I'm grateful for really building this friendship because I feel like clients that are, you spend 12 weeks, sometimes, 6 months with, sometimes
Yes.
you do build this friendship. And that's like one thing that I absolutely love about clients, and just growing through different experiences and ups and downs. And it's just, I love supporting other women, and I'm grateful for you. So thank you for taking the time to come on my podcast and being the first client that I interviewed. So
Oh,
thank
this
you
is so
so much.
nice. Thank you. It's been a pleasure.
Thank you, Lydia.
Okay, Monica.